Okay, so we've got one more induction to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, the sixth induction, the sixth inductee into the 2026 Ovens and Murray Football Netball League Hall of Fame, representing North Albury, is Corey Lambert.
Few players have made a bigger impact in their first O&M season than Corey Lambert. A Grogan medal winner in Queensland in '96, followed by 2 seasons playing for the Sandful for Woodville West Torrens. Lambert joined North Albury in 1999. The powerfully built midfielder became an instant star. He was instrumental in the Hoppers' rise up the ladder under the coaching of Ernest Whitehead, who had been part of a premiership success at Wodonga before crossing the river to coach one of the Bulldogs' fiercest rivals. Lambert tied with O&M legend Robbie Walker in the Morris Medal and then produced a best on ground performance to help the Hoppers to their first flag since Rags to Riches triumph in 1984. He also won the Hoppers best and fairest in a dream debut season. In 2000, Lambert represented Vic Country at the National Championships and earned All-Australian selection honours. North Albury reached another grand final in 2000, but was blown away by a star-studded Corowa Rutherglen, which won by a record-winning margin. Lambert finished runner-up to another O&M legend, John Brunner, in the Morris Medal before an injury-interrupted 2001. He was appointed North Albury coach in 2002 and led the Hoppers to another flag in his first year at the helm. The flag was in the balance at the last change before North Albury stormed home with 7-1 in the final term. Lambert was among the club's best players, with Simon McCormick taking best of field honours with 5 goals. North Albury made another grand final under Lambert in 2004. It would be the last of 107 matches for the Hoppers for Lambert, who also coached Wodonga Raiders for 4 years, which included reaching finals. He has returned to Bunton Park as the Hoppers under-18 coach. Corey Lambert, a fitting inductee to the Ovens and Murray Hall of Fame.
When I said representing North Albury, you're involved at Raiders as well and a couple of other footy clubs. But what I'd like to do, Corey, is just say well done. You've achieved some things that very few others have, which we'll cover quickly. But you started in Queensland with Ipswich and West Brisbane, a league best and fairest as a young player, then recruited to Woodville West Torrens in the Sandful. So you were performing at a very high level, but I remember you saying in one of your interviews that perhaps your level of fitness needed a little bit of work. So tell us a little bit, because you're not a local, but how did you end up being recruited to and joining the Hoppers?
Yeah, well, I spent most of my early days growing up in Werribee, but I ended up in Queensland and played for West Brisbane, and we had some success after a long dry spell, and off the back of that, I ended up going to South Australia and playing for Woodville West Torrens. And like Brad said earlier, you learn a lot at state league level. I probably learnt more in 2 years than I had in my full footy career. But things sort of it was time for a change there, I guess. And it was just a chance phone call to a friend of mine here. I was chasing up Jason McGuinness, Sheepy. He and I played together in Brisbane, and I was giving him a call just to say g'day, to be honest. And it was before the times of mobile phones, and it was on the old landline. So I rang the footy club because I didn't know his number, but I knew he played at North. And I rang the footy club and said, "Is Jason McGuinness there?" And they said, "Oh yeah, he's speaking." And I said, "It's Corey Lambert." And then they go, "I'll go and get him." And then someone jumps on the phone, and it's the team manager for North Albury. And I said, "Where's Jason? I want to have a chat to him." And he wanted to have a talk. And then he goes, "I'll go and get him." And then the next bloke jumped on the phone, and it was the coach of North Albury, Ernie Whitehead. And I'm thinking, "Where's Jason? I just want to have a chat to Jason." And before I knew it, off the back of that conversation, I ended up on a flight over with a couple of mates and to check the place out. And the rest is history. I ended up at North Albury.
It's a funny world, because Sheepy was a pretty good footballer at Wodonga Bulldogs under Ernie Whitehead too, and Ernie's not enjoying the best health, and he was at pains to talk to me and say well done and pass on his best wishes, because you actually took over as coach North from Ernie, from memory. So I want to quickly talk about the 99, 2000, that sort of period where you were playing, you won a Morris Medal, so our league best and fairest. You played grand finals and then you playing coach of a premiership. It was a pretty surreal time for the Hoppers.
Yeah, that was a special time, and it wasn't just my influence. We had Travis Hodgson come into the team around the same time. Brett Zeidler come across as well. We had a really good crop of young players, which I've mentioned in the past, Simon McCormack, Mark Hilton and the like. And yeah, we knuckled down and just got to work, I guess. I mean, you just work hard and you see what comes of it. But I have to say, I remember joining the club, and I went to one of the early pre-season trainings, and there was 13 people there, and I said to Brett Zeidler, what the hell have we done here? You know, like, this can't be right after walking out of SANFL footy. But the group that we had really bonded and gelled, and we just had a great mix, and Ernie did a fantastic job in leading our group. And you know, we just chipped away and were consistent each week, and we went on and we won the grand final. We beat Albury. We hadn't beaten them all year, but that led to then some more sustained success. And, you know, I think that 2000 grand final, which you mentioned, was probably the most embarrassing day of my footy life. I think we lost by 108 points and Hoolan kicked 10 and all that sort of stuff. But then we went on and won in 2002, taken on from coach. And, you know, I didn't think I'd be coaching at that point. I thought Ernie was still the man, but things happen inside football clubs, and the group or the club asked me to take the reins, and I didn't think I was ready, but you know, we had some success, and the rest is history.
Footy's an interesting game. In that 2000 grand final, we had a 16-year-old central umpire. He's now the 10th longest serving AFL umpire in history, and that's Jacob Mollison. So he sort of mirrored a bit of Corey's history, and I keep in touch with young Jacob. He's had a couple of grand finals, and he's a ripping young man who's still going, so well over 400 games. And it's interesting when we talk to not only the footballers, but our administrators and our umpires, it's a small world. I want to quickly talk about interleague. Like the other boys, it was something that you were devoted to. Ernie and a couple of other people I spoke to said that you're ahead of your time in terms of preparation, and this man sort of set the standards for many young footballers coming forward. But you coached, I appointed you actually at the time, you coached the 2008 interleague side, but you also coached New South Wales, the state side. So again, fairly surreal time for you, including that time you're at Raiders. So coaching was something that was really attuned to you.
Yeah, it was always a passion. I remember early days, one of my mentors is Danny Craven, you know, ex-St Kilda, ex-Brisbane. And I spoke to him early days about coaching, and he gave me a really good tip. He said, anything good you hear or you learn, just put it in a notepad. And now I've got, you know, cupboards full of notepads that I still keep stuff to this day. But it was always a passion, and getting the opportunity at North Albury was something that I cherished and still do to this day. And we had some great fun, but coaching is something I've always loved.
So you spent some time at both Raiders, and you went out and helped Murray Magpies, but the last couple of things I want to talk to you about is, I think in our history we've only had two local players be inducted into an AFL Hall of Fame. Corey is the second one, so he was inducted into the AFL Queensland Hall of Fame, I think in 2023. So you're also inducted into the North Albury Hall of Fame. I've read the script from the AFL, and you were described as a bit of a football journeyman, but I won't mention the names I'll get you to, but you were in very good company when you were inducted. So can you share with the audience a little bit about that special privilege of being inducted by the AFL?
Yeah, that was certainly a surprise. I think Queensland do it a little different. They sort of do it once every 5 years, and they might bring 60 people in. So, you know, there were some great people that were in that, and I didn't feel like I was a part of that group, I must say. But I sat next to Nigel Lappin and Brad Miller on our table with Danny Craven, and we all really enjoyed the night, and it was a great privilege. And again, like this one, I'll look back on with fond memories.
He's a very modest man. That's the only other person that I know of, and we talked about a couple of years ago here, was Michael Nolan, so galloping gasometer, who Mick Wilson's brother-in-law, or uncle. So we talked about Mick being inducted as well, because he was a bit of a legend up there. So we have this great capacity at O&M level to generate people who are recognised Australia-wide and at national level, and people like you keep that message going. So Corey, the last question I have for you before I hand over, you're back involved again coaching the under-18s, but you've got a boy playing who's showing a bit of polish. He's had a debut as a young age and playing Murray Bushrangers, so there's a bit in front of you yet as a busy dad.
Yeah, but that's something I'm most passionate about, is following my son and looking after him and making sure, you know, I can teach him as much as I can so he can go and be the player he can be. And that is a real joy, watching him come through the ranks. He works really hard, and, you know, he's going through an injury at the moment, but his discipline and commitment to his body and his training has just been outstanding. And I'm sure good things will come, but he's been, you know, really good around the club. He loves North Albury. I think I've mentioned that. And even with the Bushies, he enjoys that. He's the captain of the Bushies, so he's really missed it. But, you know, he loves playing for North Albury with the seniors, with some of the boys that are here. That's his real passion. It's great to watch. Hopefully I'll be doing it for many years to come.
Corey, a wonderful story, and I know your journey is unfinished, both for yourself with coaching and with your family. So very well done, and I'll hand the mic over to you.
Alrighty. Right about now, I wish I had Ronnie Montgomery's job. Firstly, I just want to thank the Ovens and Murray Football Netball League and the Hall of Fame committee to be inducted amongst some of the great people that are in this room and be inducted before us, and the inductees of tonight is also very humbling for me. It's I got to meet these boys through my playing time, some of them that are inducted tonight, and we've had some fierce battles and went head to head, but not only against each other, we played rep footy together and really spent some special times, and it's a real privilege to be up here with these guys that I've played with before and the others that have been inducted tonight, and I really want to thank everybody for that privilege, okay? I'm not going to sit here and bang on about my footy career or anything like that at all. I'm going to talk about more the journey, you know, because leading into tonight, I was thinking about what I'll say, and I think footy in general is a journey, and I know that's words used plenty and so forth, it's career, whatever you want to call it, but the journey, and they're the things that really excite me when I stand here tonight and receive an award like this. It's the little things that happen along the way that make a footy career what it is, and that's the stuff that I want to reflect on now. But before I do, I just want to say thank you to the people that have come and supported me tonight, the two best looking tables in the whole joint. So I know a few of you dressed up and put a penguin suit on and a bit out of the ordinary, so thank you very much for everyone's efforts. And when I think about that journey and leading into here, it's gratitude that I feel, not so much for the award, but for the North Albury Football Club, for the Ovens and Murray Football League, and even the Albury-Wodonga region. That phone call with Sheepy, that changed everything. You know, it was almost like the stars were aligning in a lot of ways. It just was sort of meant to be. But it's interesting because off the back of that conversation, the club flew me over and brought a couple of mates, and there was no chance in the world that I think I was going to be playing in regional Australia. You know, I grew up in Melbourne, Brisbane, and then spent some time in Adelaide, and I was just using the trip over as a free trip with a couple of mates to get on the beers and have a good time. You know, there's no way I was playing here, but as soon as I landed, the boys got around me. There's a couple here tonight, Robbie and Eka, Sheepy, and the warmth and the love was there straight away. I think the clincher was they took me to the 98 grand final that Narra played in, and we got to watch Lavy and the Raiders play, and I stood on the hill, and it was 15,000 people, the sun was out, the footy was great, and I said, where do I sign? I just want to come and play, you know, this is a great competition, and the rest is history, I guess, but that's all about those stars aligning, you know, there was a reason that happened, and I came with no job, no car, no place to live, but I just said yes, and it's amazing what can happen when you just say yes, you know. Off the back of that, the 99 premiership happened, and, you know, that was fantastic. It led me into my coaching career as well. And not only at North, which has been fantastic, but I spent some time at the Raiders with Big Zave down the front, and I know Nara mentioned some of the boys down the back in Jake and things like that, and Graham Lester and Housey and the boys, Davey O'Prey. I had a really wonderful time there, and we had a bit of fun and success, and we got the side going again. So they're the things that really happened. But the journey that I talk about, it's about the relationships that you make. Like I just stood there with Zave and had a really good chat, and he shared some of his experiences of my time at the Raiders, and it's wonderful to hear someone talk about that journey, you know, when you don't hear it, and the impact that you have on certain people. That's the real great thing about football. And when I speak about relationships, I think about my wife. You know, that conversation, trying to ring Sheepy, led me to her, and I'm ever indebted to her because she's a footy widow in a lot of ways. Like Brad was saying, when you're in this position, you're pretty much a footy tragic, and your whole life revolves around it to a degree. And your wife and your family come along for the ride and they support you, and you've got to be forever indebted to that because, you know, we do commit a lot to what we do. So thank you, sweetheart, and the rest of my family there, my mum, my dad, and my brother, sister, everyone, my brother-in-law, like Tony Travaskis. I talk about my wife, Lisa. I come and played, and Tony was our ruckman. And good centremen love good ruckman. And I just said, I told him where to tap the ball, and he'd put it right on that dime and just made me look good. And every time I talk about the medal, well, I don't, when it's mentioned, I say it should be going around his neck as well because of that. But off the back of that, I met his wife and his beautiful family, and here we are today. But it's the relationships, it's the friendships, it's the parties, it's the good times that footy brings that you do it for. And when I talk about the stars aligning, I think all of us maybe at some time might have experienced that when, you know, you just got the team and everything's clicking and everything works. It's what we're always chasing, you know. And if you get the ultimate success, that's even better because you get to live that over and over again. But it's those experiences and that journey that I really love, and that's really important to me. You know, when I talk to the players I coach and the people around me and ask them, what do you want to achieve in footy? And they say, we want to win a premiership. And I say, okay, well, you're here and here's that premiership. What are you going to do about everything in the middle? That's the journey, and that's the part you've got to fall in love with. The hard training, the commitment, you know, no crappy excuses to get into training and those type of things. It's everything, and you've got to give it everything. And it's a shame that these days there are kids and so forth that don't have that mentality anymore for whatever reason. But that's what it's all about. It's the journey, and that journey brings so much pleasure. I mean, I'm looking down there and I see Mick Wilson. You know, I played with Mick. He was the captain of the O&M side, and it was such a pleasure to play with Mick. He was an excellent leader, so well respected. But it's not only him. I remember playing, the picture was up there, playing the Wang Rovers one day, and I was sort of diving outstretched to tackle Luke Elkington, I think it was, and that picture was in the Chronicle, I think, down in the Wangaratta paper. I think it's the Chronicle. And I get this package in the mail, and it's a framed picture of that tackle sent by Mick's parents to me with a note saying, I think you'd really like this. Congratulations, you're doing a great job. And when I talk about journey and connection and relationships, that's the stuff I talk about. You know, it's not just within your own clubs, it's the people. And the fortunate thing about playing Ovens and Murray footy is that you get to meet some wonderful people. And in all respects, they're the same as what you've got at your club. They're just at a different club wearing different colours. Brad Thompson and the like, these guys are just amazing guys and great friends of mine. And that journey also includes some of the rep football that's been shown up there. I remember Bobby Craig coached us to a rep league wins down at Warrnambool, and we got the bus home, which was an amazing bus ride. But the next day, I think Bobby owned the Carriers Arms at the time, and he said, we're having a lock-in down at the Carriers Arms. And the memories that come out of that day alone, that room, I remember Johnny Brunner talking about how his mum would spot him on the bench press, you know, and then get shitty and say, you're not lifting enough, let me have a go, you know, and she'd jump on and start benching, you know, and these are the things that you remember. So, you know, to be standing here today and receiving this award, for me, it's the journey, and it's the experiences and the friendships and the relationships that I treasure the most. And yeah, I want to thank everyone for that, and thank you for the O&M for bestowing this upon me.
I reckon we've got a coaching double now. We might get Johnny Brunner's mother with Timmy Hargrove's mum. That'll bench pressing organised coach. What do you reckon, Chris? Go right? Amazing background. Premierships, 2 league medals, one in Queensland, one in the O&M. Best on ground, now interleague. Best and fairest at North Albury, O&M rep, state rep. He's done it all. AFL Hall of Fame, North Albury Hall of Fame, O&M Hall of Fame. The thing that I like about Corey and the other boys that I had the privilege of being involved with a lot of the footy is that they're just great people. Not only great football people, but great people. So, Corey, congratulations, and put your hands together, please. And can I have the other 5 inductees back on stage? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll hand over to Ron in a moment to do the toast, but that concludes the formal part of the evening. Congratulations to our inductees. Thank you to our business partners. Thank you to everybody for your attendance. Good luck for the rest of the season, and we hope to see you all back next year.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, a couple of housekeeping notes. Could we please clap and applause for Graham Patterson's effort tonight? Fantastic. And now, could everybody please be upstanding to welcome the class of 2026. Congratulations, very worthy inductees. I'm sure everybody will agree on what we've heard and seen tonight. Absolutely fantastic. To the class of 2026. Photo opportunities are now on, because these boys will be up here smiling. Nara's got the Padong smile ready to go. The only man for 7 years in the footy record used to bribe me and be 24 years of age. I think he was 32 at the time. Oh, I could tell a few about Timmy. I'm not starting on you. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the evening. Thank you.